Hey traders, it's 8:03 a.m. Chicago time on Wednesday, the 28th of October 2020. We are nearing the end of another month and getting closer to the election. We're less than a week away. This is episode number 1867. Derivatives trading is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. This morning, the overall picture is bleak for longs, that's for sure. The market's sentiment overall is risk off. Crude is taking a bit of a beating this morning, down $1.90 or 4.8%. The DAX also just getting hit, 486 points down, 4%. Crude is taking a hit as a result of, supposedly as a result of the fears of a supply glut and weaker fuel demand as more major economies start to shut down again. Hopefully we'll do it a little smarter this time. The Euro Stoxx 50, which represent the Eurozone, down 110 points or 3.59%. The Dow's off 610 points from yesterday's settlement, 2.23%. The Russell's down 35 points, 2.21%. And the S&P's down 64 points, 1.9% down. Gold is down $31.80. And the Nasdaq's down 185 points or 1.6%. Money is being allocated to safety assets. The dollar is popping 69 cents this morning, 0.75%. The bonds are up 22 ticks. The Bunds up 32 ticks. And the treasuries are up 6 big ticks. So the overall market sentiment is to the safety side. We are selling off, and we had some interesting developments overnight. Actually, we had interesting developments on the reopen before yesterday's session ended. So we are actually probably down more than what I just pointed out, since my numbers go from the pit close, not from settlement. So that's where we stand this morning. Looking at the calendar, we had some numbers out of Europe, but this morning we got U.S. goods trade balance. We came in at negative 79.37 billion. That's a deficit. Wholesale inventories came out at negative 0.1%. That is actually bullish. And then we're expecting crude inventories at 10:30, and that wraps up the day. The action supposedly is being driven by the fact that France is imposing heavy restrictions due to a surge in cases, and then Germany just announced, also followed suit, announcing that it is shutting down. It is shutting down areas of congregation. Also, yesterday, Illinois, and I'm sure many states have put further restrictions on gathering areas like the insides of restaurants and stuff. And with the weather being cold here, it makes it really difficult for restaurants to operate with the restrictions that are in place. So the fact is, we're experiencing a pretty large surge. You can call it due to testing, you can call it whatever it is, but the governments are responding, and so the economy has to the stock market has to respond. So that's what we're looking at today. So big things driving the market over the next week. The surge in COVID cases, which is what we're responding to now, probably. In addition to the back and forth still regarding the COVID support bill, stimulus bill, and then the numbers from the election as the polling numbers come out and the market respond. The markets make bets on the candidates' policies. So these things are going to drive what we're doing here for the next week. One thing I wanted to announce actually is that on election night, I'm going to be online. I'm going to be at my office and I'm going to be trading. And so I wanted to do a kind of a webcast of the election as it relates to trading. I don't have it set up. I haven't put together details in the agenda. Um, and so I'll let you guys know when this is happening. It's probably going to start at about 7 p.m. Central Time and go to about 11 or midnight, whenever the last poll results come out. This year, it's expected to be kind of special, not because of the way the president is, but also because there are mail-in ballots that are due on that day. So I'm expecting that we won't really know the true result for a while. And that's more uncertainty for the market to deal with. And so, with that being said, I am still going to do a webcast. It'll probably be from 7 to 11 Central, so 8 to midnight Eastern. I'll be here and I'll be broadcasting. What's going on here? So that's where we stand. Let's take a look at what was expected yesterday in terms of the markets. Yesterday, the primary scenario was looking for the market to respond higher. We had left a very, very poor high in the overnight session at 34.10, and then it's expected to squeeze through and eventually push up to 34.35, looking for a responsive market to move back into balance. This did not happen at all. The secondary is a push higher that gets confronted by selling, which would take us down into 85 again. The next areas I outlined were 60 and 40. 60 and 40, and that's basically what took place overnight. If you look at what happened yesterday, not much, a very, very bulky profile that ended up breaking the IB high. I mean, we had a nice impulse down and then came to a higher low, and I pretty much saw the deck stacked for a short squeeze against shorts. Expected the market to continue higher and start pushing to 10, 12, and making its way to 20 or so later in the session. Instead, it poked through by a couple ticks and then went to the other side and went neutral on the day. But yesterday was completely balanced. The profile is very boxy with a very odd shaped balance area. Balance area, and finished kind of weak. So we had a neutral day yesterday. We traded completely inside of the balance of the selling day on Monday. And then immediately after we closed came the announcement from the French government regarding their shutdown, and so we immediately dropped very quickly down into 60. So here it is. We push into 60 and we hold 60 for a while. Remember 60 from here. There's the 60. So we pull back to 60, hold for a while, build a very big point of control there overnight. And then when Europe comes in, they don't like the 60. And then we push down into the 40. There's the 40. We push down in and through the 40, and then we consolidate on top of the 40, build a high volume node on top of this point of control, this micro composite point of control in a key balance area. And then just recently, over the last hour, we continued selling down. We're back in the gap from the middle of September, and we are repairing some of the weaker structure that we left behind where we were gap and going. We talked about this about 2-3 weeks ago, that the way it's doing the rally is not the healthiest because it's not really auctioning out and building a proper base for the rally. So here's where we are. We started, we were one-time framing up on the weekly, broke the one-time framing up on the daily 2 weeks ago. We talked about this quite a bit, and then finally broke the one-time framing up on the weekly with a selling Monday, and we've been making lower highs since then. So the daily has been one-time framing down with a little break on Friday, and then we continued that yesterday and on Monday. These are the structures that I was talking about. These gaps that it has left behind create areas that the market has to then come back and recheck because they are unchecked areas at some point. And so we've been following this channel, but last night we accelerated through. We're trading down here at 33.18. You can see we've taken out the 50% already, which is what we held. We held that somewhat on Monday with the test of the 60 and a pop. This looked like an excess low on Monday, pretty decent excess low. And, that's why Tuesday's expectation was for higher. It's because we saw an excess low and it looked like on Monday we found buyers with a nice V bottom. I talked about this yesterday, and that didn't follow through. So we ended up moving the point of control lower, and we are exploring lower as this bad news comes along. So as we move lower, we start to get down into the 3230s, which is not the 3230s. This area down here gets into play. It's actually the 3230s, 3234. This area down here gets in play if we do not put in a higher low against this 34 right in here. If we do not put in a higher low and start moving back, then this is likely to continue to push through and down into the 3170, 3150, and so on and so forth. So we've been doing really well in terms of buying on the way up. The delta has been pretty strong. The delta on the selling has not been so great. You can see it's been pretty flat versus price. So there's been some aggressor type participation on the buy side on the way down. But again, we are coming into an election. We're coming into a very unstable political environment, highly polarized country, and a lot of fighting going on, and that instability translates itself into market action. Okay, looks like I lost a portion of the broadcast today. It happened around the time I was talking about the election night webcast. I'm going to run a webcast from about 8 p.m. Eastern till about midnight on election night on Tuesday. Going to be monitoring the election as I normally do and trading it whenever the opportunity presents itself. I'll have other people on, Ian and Kevin from EdgeClear, and maybe others who wish to come on and talk about what they're seeing and doing. I'm doing this for fun. I'm doing this because I do normally sit at elections. The 2016 election was pretty incredible. The 2016 election was limit down as the numbers were coming in, and then it turned around and pushed the highs of the overnight session. We had a huge range. At the time, Trump was seen as the person who's going to be business friendly, whereas Clinton was seen as someone who would continue on the same path of regulation and so on, and she spoke pretty tough against business, so the market was responding that way. So it was quite an incredible trading session. The tape was beautifully painted. I felt that it was an easier trade, and there was plenty of opportunities to campaign. Again, futures are not suitable for all investors, but I felt that it was an excellent day to trade. Of course, assuming you manage risk. So that's where we stand. This is what we had. The overnight sessions got really strong volume. 369,000 contracts, wide range. We've got almost 60 points of range, completely imbalanced, and we are pushing through the 40 area. And the expectation is, as it moves into the gap here, as the market is likely to revert back to at least the 40. The overnight inventory is the overnight inventory is short, 100%, and I'm looking for that to rebalance a little bit on the open. What are we expecting for today? You set my chart up here. Pretty crazy action overnight here compared to the prior days. So what are we expecting for today? I'm not going to go over the order flow today. I've shut that down just to keep the broadcast smooth. But there's not much to talk about. It's the heat map overnight was very, very noisy. This morning we are up against 33.13. We have 33.09 as a gap mid. We have the century figure at 3,300 below us. We are pushing against the two volatility down, sigma, historical volatility down, sigma, close to close. Interesting area that's basically saying that there's a low probability of closing below 33.13 and a quarter. Statistically, it doesn't mean that it won't, but statistically speaking, the market's extended from the last close. The expectation this morning is initially go with the trend. It'll likely push towards the 3,300, and then I'm looking for a response. The stronger rotations are expected to be to the upside, consolidate, and I'm looking for it to get back into 40 and see more two-way action in the 40 area before it attempts to push higher and comes back and closes in a 40. We're shifting balance down given the action, and I am looking for responsive buying as the normal course of business this morning. If the auction was to operate normally, because there's news, but that news is kind of baked in at this point. The market's a little bit extended, so the expectations for a response. This doesn't mean you get in and you buy on the open. It means that if you see that there's a large rotation, and that's what this arrow is for, if we see there's an impulse up, then we're looking for either the breakout trade or we're looking for a pullback to get long, pushing for 40 as the primary place for the market to reconsolidate. The secondary is an immediate response higher, pushing back towards 33.32.50. Consolidate here, pull back, hold steady, go up to 40, and then come back down and kind of close near lows to help continue the exploration down. So far, the overnight session has not successfully found buyers. We have not seen a V bottom. We don't have an excess low. The delta is moving with price to the downside, and you can see the delta is quite strong negative here on this bar down. So it's we have not completed the auction to the downside. But if we do become responsive on the open, I'm expecting that if it's immediate, I'm expecting it to stall out at 32.50 and then again at 40 before it starts to turn back over and hold the low volume node. The low volume node here at 18. So what areas am I interested in? 40, 32. Above there, the 60 is a big one. So these are basically the same plays as yesterday. 60 is a big one. The 45 has some play. It's got some confluence in it. We'll see how that's treated. And then beneath here, I'm looking this 18 area, 18. And then beyond that, we're looking at a push down into the 97, 95 down here. 95, 97. I'm expecting the market to kind of fizzle out and not be able to continue very strong to the downside at this point. We'll see what happens. So we have a very strong high volume node at 40, and we have a prominent LVN at 18. I'm expecting the market to play this area here and kind of use that as a bargain price location to consolidate for the next leg. Okay, when the market sprints, it runs out of breath. It tends to slow down and catch its breath before the next leg, and that's the healthier way for trends to develop. Again, I want to remind you on Tuesday night U.S. time for the U.S. elections, I'll be webcasting online. It'll be on GoToWebinar. The capacity will be 1,000. I expect us to hit limit on the capacity. I would suggest that once you're in, you do not log off. Doesn't make a difference to me. And the video on that will probably not be released because it is topical. It is in real time. There's no point playing back an election play. So if you're there, great. If you're not, great. But the show is going to run from about 7 to 11 Central, 8 to midnight Eastern. And I'll be on camera. You'll see my screen. You'll see my charts. You'll see the results. I'll post the results for the election as they come along, and we will look at what the market is responding to and see if we can spot some good scalps and maybe some positions that we can build into for the evening. Good luck, and I'll catch you tomorrow morning. Watch your risk, everybody. Take care.